Well, I'll have to admit, it doesn't look like I'm getting what I was really hoping to predict with these next chapters, but I can't complain because I was very happy with what we got this chapter. As where we left off, Gray had been restricted from using any ice magic, but that didn't stop him from using any just straightforward demon magic, and that did not work well for the members of the Thunder God tribe. Like, they got completely demolished to such a horrible degree. You know, I get really annoyed like when I say Thunder God Legion because I've seen Thunder God Tribe. You know, it's one of those times I'd rather with the Japanese name with the Raijin just because of the always forgetting which translation is the correct like canonical one, and I'll just go with the Japanese name so I can because I some things like you have no idea whenever I see like official translations, like some of them are Ishgal and some of them are Ishgar. I'm just off topicing real quick, just out of annoyance. But Free decides to jump in with him, you know, follow the same, uses his absolute shadow, severing shadow in some translations. But that wasn't going to do anything for Gray because Gray just, you know, leaps right in and immediately just rips through him, tears a big chunk out of his side, bleeds him out. And right when Evergreen, you know, turns to do anything, Gray just blitzes right through her, you know. Unfortunately for her, she's the only one that got looted in this. She got her clothes ripped from his attack. I mean, she's the only one really wearing like clothes because underneath, like Freed is still, you know, wearing his armor in that form, and Bixlow is. We already know Bixlow wears like very heavy clothing. So I mean, nah, odd man out, but whatever. Get looted, I guess. And Gray just goes around and keeps stomping them, slamming them out. Like he just straight face checks Freed and then just pounds him right into the cobblestone ground, smashing his head. And even when Freed uses his one of his runes, uses his pain on, Gray doesn't seem to feel anything. Like I'm wondering if that'll be the kind of like trait of demon slaying. Like maybe when they're in this, like for the progress, they just don't feel pain. Like obviously they'd still take damage, but that doesn't mean like that's gonna really amount to anything. His pain is obviously like a mental thing, but it obviously can hinder people in fights and whatnot. And even like it just doesn't stop. He just starts throwing punch after punch, wailing on Freed. And it's clear Gray doesn't have as much control. And I'm guessing that the aggressed Demon Force, Devil Force, and until it gets a name. I wish Gray would just give it like its own name, like Demon Aspect or something. It's just Demon Force or Devil Force, whichever you prefer, until it finally canonically gets a name. But he's just throwing hands, just wailing on him, and obviously here comes their ditch effort trump cards. Big Slug gets ready to use Figure Eyes. Here comes Evergreen Stone Eyes. Gray knows them though. I mean that attack, like it's useful against people that you know are caught off guard, but Freed and Big Slow and Evergreen, they in the same guild with Gray, and Gray just moves. He literally just Gray moves. He just blitzes right behind him. They don't know where he is. He just grabs him by the back of the head and makes them look at each other. Turns Big Slow into stone. Turns Evergreen into a little puppet. And there it is. Gray has just completely demolished the three of them. Like just ran through them. And that was just such a nice like display of the raw like stat boost that that Demon Force in this case and like Dragon Force, like actual ones, gives them. Because the Force like second gen and third gen Dragon Force like Lacrima based, you get a boost, but it's not even remotely close to this, and it's not even remotely close to like what we've seen in like artificial like Force by taking a large amount of power, like kind of like Dragon Force. Because Gray was like fighting them in their base forms and like just getting like outnumbered, and here comes Freed in full power, and Freed we already know is extremely strong. He gets a huge boost from that form, and Gray just casually ran through them at that point, just completely mauled them. I really wanted to see like a further form. I just wanted like a horn. I just wanted like a horn, and then like at the end of it, like a couple icicles on it. Something just really neat to look at. Maybe eventually. It will get eventually. The fact that we got this delicious like display of Gray's brutality was enough for me because it was just an all-around fun. And I did notice, and I brought this up when I was talking to some people about it when we only had the Japanese Raws, is Gray was absolutely like mauling them. He was brutal in this chapter. Not like gorish brutal, but like the way he was, like there were no hesitations in his punches. Like he even says like even though Freed says, like, he's like surprised that his his rune of pain didn't work on him, that Gray's like, because he's like, it's straight directing pain. You're inflicting like pain, literally like the rule of onto the body. And Gray's like, he says he does feel pain, but it was from more of emotional pain, that in fact he had to beat the living crap out of his friends. And so, like, I think that just confirms really that it was only the emotional pain that got him. Physical pain didn't do shit. So, but Gray being brutal as hell, and then Natsu, as we get back to Natsu and Gajeel, we don't see like Fire Dragon King, Motor Dragon Force, but we do see that they are about even. Gajeel, like, he's pretty much done. Natsu says he's almost out of magic. He's pretty like heavy breathed. Even though Gajeel lost, we didn't get any new forms from him, but we did get a display of like him being smarter the way he fights with Natsu, because he's much more durable, because obviously his iron magic is much more in the ways of being extremely tough. Even though Dragon Slayers in generally are in general very durable, he just seems like a cut above, because that just seems to be the layer for a metal dragon. And like the start of the fight, he just went straight for a block to use the force from Natsu's attack to pretty much like add extra force onto him to move in for another attack. He was playing it very smart. And then we saw his Iron Shadow Dragon mode after a while, and a really cool display from that, and then forcing Natsu to use Lightning Flame Dragon mode. It was cool, because Iron Shadow Dragon it's just such a cool power in general. I love Lightning Flame Dragon, but Iron Shadow is such a cooler concept, and the anime made it a lot cooler. The fact they had his shadows kind of like metallic, which just added so much extra flair to it. But like, I appreciated that aspect in the way that the fight was. But even though Gajeel lost here, it wasn't like it was a very close match. Like, Gajeel is still conscious. He's still able to kind of keep up. Obviously, he's pretty much done, but Natsu is, he's worn down, and he's not out of magic, but he says he's pretty much almost out. So it's not like Natsu's leaps and bounds above Gajeel anymore. He's stronger, but not by a lot. And here comes in Levy, who's like come here to help him. Levy is a smart character. I want to put this much more up to the fact that she's not all right in the head. She could have just made like some iron solid script and given him stamina, which would have just completely screwed over Natsu. But I'm wondering, maybe like the Levy still in there would want not for that to happen, because if Gajeel got back at full power, he would just straight kill Natsu. Where this is gonna separate him, because she lays out there. It's like she is just trying to like use herself as a shield to protect Gajeel. Gajeel's telling her to get out of the way, because she doesn't stand a chance against Natsu. She doesn't care about winning or losing. She just wants to fight for him and protect him. And Natsu goes in the fact that he's like, well, we're gonna have to beat up everybody anyway, so I'm just gonna get this over with. Goes in and fights Levy, because Natsu. The thing about Natsu is he does not care about like gender at all in fights. Like, he's a very much like, if you're in the fight, you're in the fight. I'm not gonna pull punches just because you're a girl. Levy pulls out like Solid Script Bullet, which is actually pretty good. I really like the way that it was formatted too. But he just comes in, gets ready for a punch, brings up the hurt. It's pretty much like, you're full of openings, this is gonna be easy. And once she goes and protects her stomach, like, Natsu remembers, like, I enjoyed the fact that some of the characters knew that she was pregnant, and this whole part was really interesting. And I know people are gonna like pull on the comedy aspect, like Natsu was like, whose kid is it? Is it mine? And that's funny, haha. But Levy's whole part, Levy likes talking about like she's still in kind of the shock she's gonna be a mom, and she's small, but she's gonna really just care for her kids a lot. That was nice to see, but I already knew like that just seems like something Levy would say. Like, she's a very kind-hearted girl. She's very cheerful, happy. So that part was nice, but it wasn't where I really enjoyed of that scene, because Natsu, like I said, Gray was very brutal, but here's Natsu completely halting in place, pulling his punch back, because he'll hit a girl. He's not gonna hit a pregnant woman. That's completely beyond like Natsu's range of like, I'll be a dick, but that's too much. That is too much. Like, Natsu's my favorite shonen main character. I would personally be pissed off at him if he hit a pregnant woman knowingly. Like, that's a little bit of a too dangerous of a territory. I mean, like, I'm kind of in the same boat. Some woman wants to fight me, I'll fight, but I will never hit a pregnant woman. Because then it's like you're not. It's not the concern of the chick that wants to scrap. You're concerned, obviously, about an unborn person. So, but she ends up taking that moment to kind of an opening and does like solid script carriage, and Natsu obviously motion sickness falls off. I thought this was funny in kind of it's kind of like the reverse situation of like Natsu and Gacho in the fight against Sting and Rogue, where Gacho got fucked over because Natsu pushed him into a cart and just rode away, and motion sickness making it too hard for him to get out. Whereas Natsu in this case said this, but I like the idea more of maybe Levy did it over like giving Godzilla stamina back because this separates them. Because obviously she's not gonna want Natsu to die. She's still like known him for years, and they're in the same guild, they're friends. But it was also really touching afterwards because Godzilla's just kind of like worn down. He's a little upset that he he lost him again, and we knew from that whole point in Alvarez that Godzilla is actually, because we knew originally Godzilla's actually pretty self-conscious about aspects when he saw that both Natsu and Wendy both had it, exceed, and he didn't have a cat, and he was kind of worried about that, and that he was a little beat up over that. And here we have, another display, because back in Alvarez, we know that he was self-conscious of the fact that he just always seemed to end up last out of the Dragon Slayers when it came to things. And here we see him upset that he, lost to Natsu again. But in Alvarez, he kind of realized like what was more important winning than being ahead and having all these like aspects of the Dragon Slayer, strength, power, whatever. And even though these other guys even had Dragon Force and stuff, even Wendy got Dragon Force, like being able to activate it at will before him, he had realized the things that he had in life and then was very happy about. And we see that kind of reoccur here, as though he was bummed out he lost, Levy comes up and pretty much says like it doesn't really matter because to her he's the best person. So he instead of it being like, I know, but it was just like, you're right, because his frustrations were still present. Like, he's still lost. He's going to be upset about it. But this was just that nice reassuring moment of him just, knowing what is more important to him and what he's got over what he could have, which is, again, very nice. Little slip into Urza fighting Jalal. Jalal's got an energy sword, and he's fighting her. And Jalal is stronger than Urza, but Urza's like 100% dampened by the fact that she's getting all flustered by just in his underwear, Jalal like flirting with her in mid-combat, which is very funny. Like I said, it's like a goofy scene, but it's legitimately Urza's biggest weakness. So like, even if you look at it from a comedy standpoint, it's a logical standpoint for this whole case. And then we get to the most interesting thing of the chapter. And obviously, like I said, there was a lot of cool stuff with Gray's character and Natsu's character, and both displays, but also like character moments. But I'm very intrigued over this last guy, because once Wendy gets there, and I know I really wanted to see Wendy fight Laxus, but just because of it would be a shocker, and it would be the least intimidating Dragon Slayer versus the most intimidating, and it would be a nice display of like how powerful she actually is, because a lot of people don't like see Wendy as powerful because she's a loli. But I'll settle for this. This is even though that would have been really cool, this is very interesting. Because like she gets there and you see a bunch of the members that are controlled all like gooed and webbed up. Like you see Nab, Max, Warren, Visitor, and everyone just seems to kind of be constricted and bound. Even Lackey's there, which is surprisingly. And from there, you got this guy, like this very strange new character show up. And there's really two options for him, because he's obviously not a member of Libieris with Toka. Can't be a member with Toka because obviously he went against like members of her. He's either a member of one of the Alderaan city churches, like maybe a protector of this crystal, which would make sense, but I don't want that one because I don't think we need more, we don't need another faction, really. I mean, I guess it would be kind of interesting because it would make sense if they had someone to protect them, but then it's like, why didn't they protect the one that Toka already destroyed? Like I said, it would be interesting, but you don't really need protectors in a lot of sense, because it's like, okay, you got this important thing you got to guard. And I have my theory I'm going to talk about soon. I'll go over more. I'll just give like a little. I'm wondering if like these crystals, like if they're actually negative, because I'm wondering if maybe they're the reasons that Alderaan is so tired all the time. And it would make sense of like maybe why maybe he's not a nice dragon like Mercephobia. He's just kind of being kept so tired all the time he doesn't care, and maybe when they're all get up, he's just going to say, screw these cities, which would make sense of why, Natsu and Code end up fighting him instead of being like another, like, this is a good dragon, we have to fight him now for X reasons. It's like, no, he was a bad dragon, he was just completely kept tired because of all these crystals. But the whole idea of if, like, you have like, okay, we need to guard these. You know, obviously they're important, but it's like nobody's gonna come to Alderaan, a dragon god, and be like, I want to cause mischief outside of, you know, somebody like Toka. You're not gonna get some random schmo. And obviously they've been fine for 400 years. It's like, would you really need it? It's only now that like some havoc is being wreaked. The other option is a member of Diablos, and I want this option because one, I think it's a really cool design, and this guy's seemingly some form of spider, and a spider dragon slayer would be so. Please, I want this one. I want this one just for the fact that I'll be able to say Fairy Tail has a spider dragon slayer. Please. Even if this character doesn't end up powerful, I just want to be able to say Spider Dragon Slayer, because it just sounds so cool. But my money on him being a member of Diablos is because we know Diablos was making a move before this arc started. And just looking at this guy, like, look at his maw, like he's got all those sharp teeth, like he's got this weird, like, open tongue, kind of like this, like, hungry view to him. And that's obviously a trait of Diablos. And one of the things it would really kind of relate to is that the Dragon Eaters aren't elements, they're very weird combinations. Blade, armor, corpse, and maybe like a spider dragon star, and whatever Georg is, and however many more Dragon Eaters they got. So, very interesting. Plus, we know that they're after Toka, so it makes sense of why they're here, because, you know, they want to go after Toka, because she still has, you know, power from Phobia. Oh, no. Well, it's kind of like vague, but like I still think she should have something about you know, something that could relate back to them that they want. But regardless, they don't know that, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll see how this goes. Like I said, I want this. I want a couple more Dragon Eaters. I want to see, you know, like 2 or 3 more in this. I'm guessing they're all going to be in like groups of 3. So this could be one. This could be one in there. I'm assuming this is a dude. It could be a chick. But please, Spider Dragons. Jeez, that would be so. It's the idea of that alone has me so interested. It's just such a cool concept to add tacked on. Plus, I think it would make a lot of sense, and I'll go more into detail when I go into my theory, because I'm wondering if maybe the thing that Dragon Eaters, like, because we haven't seen any of them eat like their attribute, because they have weird attributes. Armor, sword is eat their blade. Like, you eat all swords in general, anything sharp. Like, how does it work? But you see them eat just dragon meat. Maybe their thing is they can only eat dragon meat. They can't eat their attributes, because dragon slayers, their biggest benefit, in my opinion, is the fact that they can replenish energy, you know, stamina and magic by eating whatever their attribute is. But their biggest weakness is motion sickness. It's something pretty simplistic and easy to access against, you know, this extremely powerhouse style magic that can replenish itself very easily. And 5th generation Dragon Slayers are immune to motion sickness. So, okay, what exactly would be the trade-off? You get rid of their greatest weakness by also getting rid of their greatest kind of like benefit, which I think would be 100% like a really reasonable thing to look at and be like, oh, well, yeah, of course you know, maybe you lost it. Because otherwise it'd be like, what are they going to lose? They lose Dragon Force? There has to be some drawback. Because otherwise it's like, why wouldn't you be a 5th gen Dragon Slayer, be a Dragon Eater? I mean, there's still ways to get dragons. Like, you can either, you know, there's probably still dragons somewhere around the world, but you can also just manage to get an Eclipse Gate and just, you know, go back and hunt some dragons. And especially since, like, eventually, like, you would turn into a dragon and then you're unaging. So then you just, like, could you imagine that? It's like, hey, you're strong enough to go fight dragons, so now we're going to send you back until you're going to kill enough dragons until you become a dragon, but potentially alter history, and then it's just like, you see the guy walk through the door, and then they just kind of show up at the guild, and they're like, God damn, what happened to you? And he's like, I've seen a lot of shit, man, but I can turn into a dragon now. And I will say one thing to Mishima before I wrap this up. I don't need to see, like, any of these guys turn full dragon. And I would like to see it in the manga canon, but if not, please draw what their dragons would look like in the back. Like, I want to see what, like, a blade, armor, corpse, whatever Georg's dragon is, whatever this guy's dragon will be if he is a dragon. Could you imagine a spider dragon? That would be so dope. I'm gonna Google this and see if I can find anything after this video, just for the fun of it. Other than that, comment below what you thought about this chapter. You know, thumbs up the video, prefer the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. And that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.